Hi, I'm Tony Thackeray. Thank you for joining me today on this video blog titled How to Be Comfortable with Uncertainty. It's been some time since I last posted a video, and in that time I've been working on a 10-part course titled How to Build Powerful Relationships. The course itself will be featured on a website called curious.com. Curious.com is an e-learning interactive platform, and so the course itself will be available for you to subscribe there. And the course itself will be embedded in concepts relating to how we can build powerful relationships in all facets of our lives, whether they be intimate relationships, friendly relationships, work or otherwise. And so I will give you more information on that as it becomes available, which I'm hoping that it will do so next week, and more information will come to light. So how to be comfortable with uncertainty. Let's look at 3 principles on how we can be comfortable with uncertainty in our daily life. First of all, reality is filled with uncertainty, and so that's a paramount point that we must accept. Nothing is permanent. Life is in a constant state of flux, so there's constant change taking place. And therefore, we must collaborate with the forces of life if we want to attain inner freedom. And so that invites you in that aspect not to butt heads against life, not to oppose life. And our basic instinct when things do not go as planned is to rebel, is to fight, is to challenge life, is to challenge what is. And the fundamental understanding is that when we challenge what is, we create inner turmoil, we create inner suffering. The suffering is not out there. It's the way that we respond to those external situations in our lives that really creates our point of reference. So the second point is we fear uncertainty because we lack the life skills to navigate through it. And that's an important component. At some level, we lack the necessary life skills in order to navigate through those moments, those periods of life where uncertainty prevails. So it might be interesting for you to know that the mind has a negativity bias. And so we tend to exaggerate events, or we doubt our capacity to cope with uncertainty as it evolves. And so the negativity bias is that we tend to overinflate or over-exaggerate things that take place. And a classic scenario is that for those of you who have young children, when the child drops a plate and breaks the plate, in that split second, in that moment, we overreact. But if we look at the theme of the situation, it's quite incidental. A child breaking a plate in the consequence of something much more sinister or larger, such as a loved one being diagnosed with a terminal illness, is really not that bad. So when we understand the mind's negativity bias in that context, we can see that our child dropping the plate really is insignificant, and so we detach from that situation. And so this point really reiterates that our mind's negativity bias tends to work against us in relationship to uncertainty in our lives. And so we hold judgment, we suspend judgment about what shows up in our life, and we give it time. We allow the process, we allow the events to take place. And that could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be months, but we suspend our judgment. We allow life to flow through us, allow the process to flow through you before reacting, before you judge the process. Because what might happen is that untoward event may actually be opening the door to something greater, although we don't know it at the time. And so, personally speaking, I like to think of it from a bird's eye perspective. I take the bird's eye view that something greater is unfolding, although I don't know what it is yet, and I'm not privy to that information just yet. But from my limited perspective here on the ground, I can only see a small portion of what is taking place in my life. Yet, if I take the bird's eye view, I can see that this small portion is part of a larger picture, and I just need to suspend my beliefs, suspend my judgment, and allow the process to unfold. And so the third point is we must change our perspective of uncertainty. And so how do we do that? Well, we yield to the intrinsic forces of life instead of oppose them. And that's an important point worth mentioning. So however uncomfortable it may seem, we surrender to the natural order of events by leaning into our fears and insecurities. Leaning into our fears and insecurities is really a Buddhist ideal, that we face what we oppose, we face what we fear, rather than run away from it. Our fears, our insecurities and our doubts grow larger. Much like a rolling stone, it just gathers so much momentum and grows larger in intensity. And so as we run away from our fears and our insecurities and our doubts, they gain a larger foothold in our lives. But instead, if we just face them and lean into them gently, allow a little bit of fear to permeate through us each and every time, we can see that the fear is a facade. The insecurities, the doubts, all those disempowering thoughts and accompanying emotions and beliefs are really just setting the framework for something greater, opening the gateway to inner freedom. Thank you once again for joining me on this video blog titled How to Be Comfortable with Uncertainty. Thank you for continuing to subscribe to these video blogs if you're watching this on YouTube and also via my website www.tonyfackery.com. Thank you once again. I'm Tony Fackery.